As we go through this sequence, I'll be giving a ton of options and instructions so you can make this your own. Because by making this your own is how we elevate our practice. We're going to start with cat-cow circles going in one direction, pushing our palms into the mat and just getting the gnarliness and the tightness out of the body. Take your time with this. Remember, this is your practice. And then we're going to go the other direction. Round the back up towards the sky, circle it around the other direction, getting the tightness, the gnarliness out of the body. Noticing how each one helps a little bit more. Working our way up into what we call our power moving dog. We're coming up into downward facing dog, and when we come up, we lift all 10 fingers and work towards anchoring the heels down. This will build stability in the shoulders and get a little extra stretch in the back of the legs, which we could use after all the sitting we all tend to do. From here, we're going into hip fluency. So we're on the left forearm and the right hand. And we're going to circle the right leg around, taking our time, leaning a little bit to the left, controlling the range of motion. Then we're going to go the other direction. Let's see if we can get 8. But remember, nothing is binary. It's not like you're going to do 8 or 0. Do 4. Do 2. Do what works for you. Such good work. Let's come back up and let's do a few more of those power dogs. We were leaning back into our heels and lifting all 10 fingers. If you feel like this is going too fast, remember it's your practice. Slow it down and hold the dog instead of moving through it. So good. Coming onto the other side. So we're on the right forearm and the left hand, and we're doing circles. First forward. We're trying to do 8, but if you can't do 8, do 4. Remember, form and precision is more important than number. From here, we'll be going the other direction, trying to make a circle. It's nice to think about a clock with the top being 12, the bottom being 6, and the sides being 9 and 3. Such good work. We're coming back onto all fours, and let's do another round of those super useful and usable power dogs, working towards lifting all 10 fingers up off the floor and also anchoring the heels down. Continue in your own pace, stopping, pausing if you need to. Now we're extending our leg out. We're on the left forearm and the right hand, and we lift the leg up and we see if we can straighten it. If this is way too much, don't worry about straightening it out today. What we're looking for is strength and length in the body. Going for 8, but if you can't do 8, do 4. Come up, take a second, recover, and then let's go to the other side. We're on the right forearm, and as the left leg comes up, we work towards extending it out towards the wall, seeing if we can keep the thigh in line with the hip, but if it's a little bit lower, that is absolutely fine. Going for 8, but if we can't do 8, we do 4. Coming back up to all fours and taking a moment before we once more go down to the left forearm, going into our rainbow leg exercise, where the right leg comes up and around. What we're going for is a full, big movement, keeping control in the hips, keeping the torso relatively still, But it's all right if you move around a bit. Enjoy this big movement and know that over time we get stronger and more capable of doing this. Okay, set up for rainbow legs on the other side, remembering that you don't have to do them all, but try and do a few in really good form. We're on the right forearm and the left hand, and we're going to come up and over as best we can. Notice that one side might be easier than the other, but no worries about that at all. Be a researcher and not a judge about how your body is moving today. Notice for yourself how it feels. Know that you are the decider, the designer, and the director of your practice. So good. Back up to all fours, shift left, shift right, and shake it out. Come back up into down dog, but now we're doing circles with the right leg. Keep your left leg slightly bent. Then go to the other side. So nice big circles on the left leg. And if this is too much for you, you can absolutely do it on all fours. Now we're going the opposite direction than what we just did. Notice if that's easier or harder than the other way. Switch sides, take your time, have a sense of curiosity about this all. What happens with these new movements? How do we respond? Come back down to all fours, shift left and shift right, and notice how your hips are feeling. Going into a lunge stretch. Take the left foot forward and you're on your hands. If you need yoga blocks, place yoga blocks underneath your hands and simply move forward and back, finding a stretch, something that feels good in that right hip and left hamstring. If it's way too much, bring your hands on yoga blocks. So good, let's get the other side. So your right foot comes forward, your hands are on the inside of the foot, and you're going back and forth, allowing your right foot to come up, finding some space in that left hip. You might feel it a lot in the right hamstring. You might feel it a lot in the left hip. Remember to breathe, to take your time, and to listen to what your body needs today. From here, we're lying down on our back. Take a moment and take the left ankle over the right thigh. From here, lace your hands around your right shin and pull in and out with your arms. A nice way to think about it is bend the elbows, don't bend the elbows. Bend the elbows, don't bend the elbows. Notice the space coming in the hip. Other side, reclining figure 4. Lace your hands around your shin or thigh and pull in and out. Way to think about it is bend the elbows a little, don't bend the elbows a little bit. If this is too much, do it less or skip it. It's absolutely fine. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to cross the leg over, and then we're going to anchor the leg that's crossed over down to the floor. We call this pigeon twist. And if this is way too much for you, hold it and do what we did a moment ago. See if you can anchor that foot down to the floor and just get curious. What happens if I repeat this enough, long enough for it to work? Other side, twisted pigeon. So cross right ankle over left thigh, flex right foot, and then see if you can gently anchor that foot down to touch the floor. Allow things to be experimental, to see what happens if you repeat something long enough for it to work. Be curious. How does this feel today? What happens if I flex my foot a little bit more? How does everything feel combined together? Uncross take a second here. Now take the legs wide, and we're going to do reclining bridge twist, which means your legs fall from one side to the other. And as you do this, allow your pelvis to move. Allow your legs to be relaxed and loose. If you find you want to go slower, that's absolutely fine. Now take it to one side. Use your right hand to press your right thigh bone down as your left hip lifts up. Take a moment. Breathe. What happens if we stay with the movement, a stretch, a pose, long enough for it to work? Right leg comes up, go to the other side. So now your left hand is going to anchor down your left thigh bone as your right hip is going to lift up. From here, simply breathe and get curious. What happens if we stay with something long enough for it to work? What happens if we drive the breath through the body? Come to the center and put your feet together in what we like to call cobbler's pose. Then we're simply going to press the lower back down and then release it. Hands are on the hips. Notice the space, the heat, the warmth coming to the hips, the inner thighs. Pushing the back down gives you a little bit more awareness of the space in your lower back. If it becomes too much, press it down a little bit less. Let's get maybe a few more times. And have your feet back to what we like to call bridge preparation pose. And shift your hips a little bit side to side, noticing the space, the length, and the warmth. Hands to the belly. Simply breathe. And then allow your breath to breathe you. Such good work. Remember, the goal of this class was to feel better. So let me know how this class worked for you. And I'm specifically interested in which movement was easy for you and which movement was challenging for you. Because with that information, we can adapt and adjust our program so that it works for us. That is how you elevate your practice.